with the DRC. The good thing is it's always in the open, it's in public. I don't have to explain much. If they were doing it quietly, people would get confused and start saying that maybe others are actually responsible for all that they are seeing. But the good thing, they come out and say it. They agree one thing in Washington or even in Doha, and that is made public. Then the next day or week, someone says, no, we are not going to do this and this until something else is done. And even when what they are referring to has also been under discussion. And whether in your mind you agreed or not, what has come out of you, if it's on record, you definitely have a problem explaining why you would agree one thing in the room, and then when you are out in speaking to the media or to whoever, you say a completely different thing, or even renege on what you actually said you are going to do. So that is one part of it. But somehow we've been limping through this all the way. Some things done, others not, others half. And now maybe possibly we with the time taken and effort, we will find ourselves in Washington, which I should have started with. I think the fact that there is even a possibility of meeting in Washington, and we have had people come visit us, visit Rwanda and Congo, and rush to the UN and the Security Council and make decisions and make announcements and pass resolutions. That's why in the first years we spent a lot of time on that without really having anything tangible in place. I think this process or the two processes, one in Washington, another in Doha, but talking about Washington, it's a good step in the right direction. Whether we arrive at a decisive moment that gives us a clear possibility and optimism that we are near finding lasting peace and so on. Yeah, it's something we can still continue to hope for and work towards. But at least there is that possibility, there is that framework that is in place. And the Trump administration seems to have done their best. You know, some of these processes will not work, not just because we are meeting in Washington or the powerful United States is involved. Yes, they have a big role to play. It's what I was praising them for, having made a huge effort. But until those people concerned directly, they themselves want and commit to achieve the end result, which is stability, peace, and security for all that needed, even the most powerful will remain wondering which way to go, or frustrated, if you will. So the onus is on us, mainly the people, the leaders, the DRC, Rwanda, and others in the region. Washington took over this when there were also other efforts underway. I'm sure maybe one of you will be asking, or you yourself had it on mind but didn't raise it. You would be asking, where is the East African SADC process? Because they were there, or the AU, or whatever. That speaks volumes. And the reality is the knot is tied in one place. These problems are happening in Congo, but it seems the leaders don't care or don't know, or they have refused to take responsibility. They just keep daydreaming and talking about all kinds of things, and whenever they've gone all places, the only thing they know how is to keep asking sanctions for Rwanda, sanctions for Rwanda. Okay, but if you sanction Rwanda, how does it solve your problem? How does it solve your mismanagement of your country affairs? How does it give citizenship rights to the people who have been complaining for decades and have had to take arms and fight you? How does it solve the problem of you having to import mercenaries to come and ask and fight for you? How does it do that? People should really see things for what they are. And you may hear so many stories about different things, but you also have the ability to see through all that and make your own judgment. So, summary of so much I have said, I'm always optimistic, always hope there is a chance another day, and the following day, but I remain prepared to take care of the business I have to take care of.
Thank you, Mr. President. Albert?
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for this press conference. Kind of a follow-up on where we started. At the same time that we have a meeting coming up in Washington eventually, at the same time you have a narrative that has been developing in these last weeks and touching on something that doesn't seem to be the way it is presented, talking about the humanitarian crisis that is incredible, millions of people displaced in eastern Congo, that people need to have access to Goma, and that is especially developed in Europe, from what we can see. So sometimes also it reminds me of 10 years ago, or 2012, 2013, what is this thing about Goma? Because as soon as M23 took in 2012 Goma, the whole world went cuckoo. And now again, everybody wants to have access to Goma. So what is there? Because it's at our doors. At the same time, I believe that after 25 years, to have MONUSCO there, which was also part of the forces that, beginning of this year, were shooting at Rwanda. I mean, for Rwanda, this becomes something that maybe needs to be taken up. Like, how long can a force like that still stay there? And especially that they've been part of the belligerents attacking Rwanda. Mm-hmm. So what is this thing about Goma that nobody knows?
Well, Goma is near a volcano which sometimes erupts, and so maybe that seems to be the factual thing about Goma. The rest are just studies. But from what you started saying, what is it that didn't actually originate from Europe? You asked something about Europe, and you are saying the stories about Goma and so on are originating from Europe. But what is it that didn't originate from Europe about this story or about this problem? If you look at the whole history and the old history, but even the recent history, you have had Europe always in the mix of things in and between our countries, and even to do with the crisis we have in Eastern Congo or the region. For about Goma, I don't fully understand. And talking about humanitarian crisis, yes, it is suffering. There is no question about it. But actually, it seems there was more suffering before the crisis, or at the beginning of it. As of today, I think the suffering is still there, but maybe less. But to talk about humanitarian crisis so much is to find an entry point, an easy entry point into that crisis, and then shaping it the way some people want, given how they have been relating to this history I'm talking about all along before. You cannot talk about just crisis or humanitarian crisis without highlighting the root cause of that. And people have always avoided bringing up matters to do with the root cause, because in the end it exposes people like that. So there is always a way to shape things in a manner that there is effort to protect themselves, the people I'm talking about. And is it a new crisis in Eastern Congo or in Goma or around Goma? You remember this crisis, I have said this before, and you have heard it even from other people, or you know it yourselves. This crisis was there 2012, came back 10 years later. Why can't people try to understand? What is it? How can you have a problem 2012 and 10 years later you have a repeat of the same problem? It means, but yet, for those 10 years, we had this international presence. and many years before that, supposedly to address these problems. So much money spent, so many people involved, people losing their lives in big numbers, refugees, people displaced, and but life goes on like that until we are visited by the same problem, and then we start running around like this is a new thing. I mean, the amount of hypocrisy and even double standards and real insensitivity of some of these powers that we know who are associated with the cause of these problems, or who accompany the crisis in the way they have chosen, and in the end they are the ones making so much noise about, they look like they are really hurt by the suffering of people. These are people touched and offended by people suffering. But this is just trash of pretense. If you are like that, you have heard people talk about values, you see our values, it's a lot of nonsense. If you have the power of everything, whether political, money, or whatever, and then every day you're talking about values and so on and so forth, and even want to teach others how to respect values, yet you are the cause of the suffering, and you are the cause of the perpetuation of that. What kind of pretense is this? And you can't just, so when you see these people, coming out with a lot of anger, this, and talking about, you see us, you've made a mistake, you're going to do this. In the end, all they are doing is adding more suffering to the suffering that is already there. It's not actually addressing any problem. So Goma, but if anyone wants Goma, that's fine. For whatever reason, whether it is ritual or, some believe in witchcraft, you would want to go and pray in Goma and meet the witch doctors there and so on and so forth. Still, you know what? Goma it's not functional as of now, but it is in the hands of some people. You go and talk to them. But if I were the one, let me be myself, let me tell you a story. If I were the one, you come and I'm the one controlling Goma, and you come to say, I want to use Goma. I say, fine. But these are conditions. Goma is part of my problems that I face with the government. And now it is in my hands. I will not give it to you until you show me alongside that how you address my problems. Well, I may sound speaking for these guys, but I'm just reasoning. If I were the one, you want Goma, you want Kavumu, or Bukavu, or you want the whole of Eastern Congo back, fine. I have no problem with that. it will only come with you addressing my problems. Yeah, you understand? In my long history, in my judgment, that is what I learned over so many years of fighting for my rights and for, people have, they sacrifice, they do what, but unless they have no reason they are sacrificing, that's a different issue. But if they are, everything should be put together. You want this, I'll give it to you. I have no problem. But we came to this point because of this reason. So if you don't address that reason, how do you just expect to cause problems? And then you come and say, and this I'm saying because, again, for me, what you see is what you get. We used to tell Congolese from the beginning, when we would be in the discussion and it's like you see leaders behaving like, it's like, you must do this, you must do that, and they are the cause of problems. So I used to tell the leaders of Congo that asking, or in order for us to have security in our country and have peace, and that we have fought for so many years in the past, it's a must. We must give each other peace. I can't ask anybody for peace as a favor they are doing to me. No. For us to have peace, I beg you, and you have to do me a favor to give me my peace. That's a different world I don't live in myself. I cannot ask anybody to do me a favor to have Rwanda secure or to have my right. Well, initially maybe I can ask you to do a favor, tactically, I can say, please, I beg you, I can even kneel down if you want. But if you don't give me my right, then it means a fight. We will fight, no question about it. So there is no way, where I'm concerned, you can do me a favor for my right. Who are you after all? Who are you to have everything, including my own right, that you can control? How? Who are you? What gives you that right or power to be able to do that? So I've given you more than you really wanted, but Goma is part of the problems we have in Eastern Congo. And yes, Goma should go back to its operations as an airport. But what is it that stopped it being so in the first place? So you must address that. You want to address humanitarian crisis. I agree. There must be a way of doing it, taking on board the fact that there is what is causing the humanitarian crisis, and that must be addressed. Right? So, anything else about Goma?
Somehow there is also another side of of the whole story that has been kept repeated, especially now it's still alive in Europe. It's about the looting of minerals and all of that. I mean...
Again, that is nonsense.
Exactly.
They looted minerals better than anybody, worse than anybody I know of in history. So would you even listen to that? Minerals? Minerals, they sell minerals in, what is it? In Antwerp, where is?
Antwerp. Diamonds.
Diamonds.
But there are no
Do they
diamonds
produce
there.
diamonds? Or they have gold, bullions they took long ago and they are adding more? Do they have a lot of gold? Do they have gold mines? These Europeans? They take it, okay. To make their case even simpler or less than it is, they may even say, no, but the gold or the diamonds or whatever we have is brought by legitimate people, okay? Would you believe that? But that legitimate, when they are there, they are the legitimate ones. So, but this whole thing, why do you think, by the way, there is something to do with there is an MOU actually we're supposed to be having with Europe, which involves, I think, and a lot has been worked on about traceability and so on and so forth, okay? Rwanda got involved in that and passed every stage and standard that was expected on that. Now, what is funny and contradictory is, at some point, then DRC goes to Europe and says, no, don't sign anything with, but how do you not sign anything that was supposed to be transparent and show where the minerals are coming from, or who is involved? So on one hand, you want to be clear that there is nothing except that Congolese always passed through here, and some sold it here to Rwandans who went and sold it to somebody else. Others, they said it through Burundi, through Uganda, through the neighbors. But it is only Rwanda that was picked on about minerals. Simply because, I think with the audience back home in Europe, they listen more to these accusations. The more they hear of them, then the more questions they raise about Rwanda. Whether what they are saying is happening or has happened or not. So, minerals, really think, okay, FDR, that actually at some point was in control of Goma, or the surroundings of Goma. Why are they found to be innocent in the whole equation? And yet every day we point out things to do with FDR. But they are not interested. They say, no, they are few, they are... Well, if they think they are few, they should come here. We will take we will give them face-to-face conversation with those that have been brought from Eastern Congo recently. They will tell them the stories. But do you think they even want to do that? Haven't some of you journalists, maybe I hope you're also not selective about what you want to know. Haven't you asked to go and meet these people who have been brought from Congo the FDLR to tell you their stories that show you how they are so embedded and intertwined with the Congolese forces and other systems of government. So that plays behind the scenes role, and you don't see it at the forefront being talked about. In fact, some of these FDLR have been doing mining in Eastern Congo. Where do they take their minerals? Maybe those are the minerals that end up in Europe, but they would rather hold Rwanda responsible based on the stories around minerals. What sense does it make? You know, don't. Sometimes we overrate people. We overrate them in the sense we think they have, when it has been said by Europeans or by this, then it must be true. But these are the things they get involved in. Petty things. And without borders. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one more question about Goma from Romain Grau, Jeune Afrique. The question says, President Macron said on the sidelines of the G20 that the M23 and those who control Goma airport have not made the necessary effort to reopen it, stating that the administrative conditions have been met by the DRC. What steps need to be taken to achieve progress on the airport issue?
Well, I don't know, what is being referred to as the government of DRC having met what? I don't understand. That they met what?
The administrative needs.
What administrative need? To the best of, I don't know what, first of all, the meaning of what he had said. For example, are you aware that the airspace in Eastern Congo is actually closed? You can't overfly, have people flying from wherever, South Africa or going there. Planes don't overfly Eastern Congo because DRC government closed the airspace. Now you want to open an airport in a closed airspace, and he says somebody has met the standards, administrative standards. I don't understand the meaning of it. Second, those M23 and others who control what? Who control them? You mean M23 who control, or M23 and others? Ah, okay. Could I equate it with saying, maybe you wouldn't like that, the government of DRC, the FARDC, and FDLR. FDLR actually has a big control in that area. They are being fought every day by the M23, even before those who control the airport come in. So would President Macron wish to say something about FDLR? I don't think so. You know the reason? There is a whole story about FDLR and those others from Europe. We talk about the airport, those others who control it other than M23. There are those others from Europe who control FDLR. That's why they are always quiet about FDLR. You see always when issues about Eastern Congo, about Rwanda backed M23, and then when they get FDLR, they are really whispering. They don't even want anybody to hear it. And then for government of DRC, it's some individuals who get involved in these wrong things. It's not the government. I mean, this selective way of presenting issues and even wanting to address matters sensitive like that, based on how you have selected to handle it, I think it becomes part of the problem. By the way, that's why I was saying those others, other than those who control the airport, but from Europe, have been part of this problem as of origin of 31 years ago tragedy we had here. We've been associated with that. Maybe with time, if those things keep coming up, and the way they have been, we will say more about that. I think if they think we can be silenced to not talk about the historical role and responsibility in matters of tragedy here in Rwanda, and which crossed into Congo, and people there, you see hate speech, you see all kinds of by leaders, and those others in Europe tend to minimize it and don't even want to talk about it. But then they talk about Goma, M23, and the others who control it, who control both. I mean, I guess they mean who control M23 and who control Goma. Yeah, but there are those others also who control from the same place where the voice came, who control government of DRC and control FDLR. And that's why FDLR, people keep quiet about it. But, well, if they want us to roll back the whole efforts of the understanding of how we should relate based on their involvement in the tragic history of this country and the region, they are welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next question for Lionel.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Lionel Ditali from Pan-African Review. My question will be about Africa's security in more broader terms. At the recent Land Forces Commander held in Kagame, you noted that Africa still faces the world's the most active conflicts, and that the response is constrained by external bureaucracy and decisions made afar, even when speed and autonomy are needed. At the same time, Rwanda's interventions in Mozambique and Central Africa show us what African-led solution can achieve when partners trust each other and act decisively. So in light of these contrasting realities, what do you think are the reforms required for Africa to be able to strengthen its capacity to respond on its own terms? And how do you see Rwanda's interventions or partnership shape that future?
Yeah, it's an important question, but very difficult. Again, I think if I remember the saying, you can take horses to the well to drink water, but you can't force them to drink. You take them there, but it is the horses to drink the water anyway. If they don't want, you can only stand by and watch, isn't it? So I think Africans, we have everything. We have the water in front of us and we are thirsty, we should be drinking. But we find an excuse for not drinking the water. I don't think we need anybody coming and whipping us into that. So when the Africans decide to drink the water that they actually badly need, I have no medicine. I can't. The only thing we try to do when we collaborate with our brothers and sisters on the continent, like in Mozambique or Central African Republic, or participate in other efforts, we are only trying to say we can drink the water. We are actually drinking the water based on our thirst for it. And then it's like saying, why don't you? Telling somebody else, why don't you quench your thirst? So, I don't know. There is nothing Africa doesn't have, actually. All these things, or these areas where we fall short, I can only be surprised and say, why? Why do we keep falling short on everything, including the provision for security for our people? When you have the people, we have the resources, we have the knowledge, we have... what is it that Africa doesn't have? Tell me. We have good weather, maybe that's what spoils you. We have... what don't we have? Numbers, we have 1.4 billion people on our continent. So what do we want? No? What else do we want? Or what do we lack? So that is, this is it's a pathetic situation. Yeah. I don't think I have helped you to understand what you can do, but not for lack of trying. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. We take one question and then go to break from Anangwe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Eugene.
Maybe why don't we continue a little bit, then maybe another 15 minutes and then take a break.
E.G. Nanangwe, we're CEO, founder, East African Media Group, and the African Leadership and Dialogue Institute. So, President, my question is on leadership. And I listened to you keenly at the recent Unity Club forum, where you challenged Rwandan leaders to reflect on what's holding Africa back. And I remember you talking about feeling that this is linked to leaders who pursue individual gains.
For the close to 20 years I've been in Rwanda, I reflected on this, especially listening to people who have been serving in different quarters. And when someone tells them, "Nukomeza gucho, urisanga kuri yellow paper," and they say, "Reka, reka, 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 reka." And the reka, reka, reka is not because they don't want to serve, but because of the pressure to deliver that leaders in this amazing country go through.
The pressure to deliver without apology.
Exactly, yes. And this brings me to the question of your style of achieving this culture. I know of countries where people will kill each other to get those positions of leadership. But here, not everybody can take that pressure to deliver without apology. So if you were to deliver a lecture at President Kagame's School of Leadership, what would those three things be that you would say about this subject of servant leadership that happens in this country? And then the East African community, the momentum seems to have died out. Checking on ground, people feel like it's not the same pressure, the same momentum that was there. I know in this room, half of the people might not know who's the current chair of the ESC Heads of State Summit. It's not like long ago where there was a lot of hype around this. Something must have happened, Mr. President. I don't know if you also feel the same. What is that might have happened? And what do we need to do to be able to bring back that momentum that we had about this fastest growing regional economic bloc? Thank you.
Well, to start with the last, I think you hire different people. You hire different leaders and see if they can. But leadership is a broad subject and always discussed in every corner and part of the world. It doesn't mean one thing. Many people have different definitions or interpretations of what should happen. I'll give you my take. It's so simple. First, leadership isn't about just serving yourself and being proud that you've done something for yourself, except you can do that only if you are delivering something. Because if you are leading people, the rest becomes a choice of how you are going to live your life and the purpose of any service or leadership role you may be playing. We can learn the theory, but in the end, the practice is ours. Yes, you can study and have degrees bestowed upon you about leadership, and you can be an expert and be there actually teaching leadership, and everybody moves out of the room energized and feeling on top of the world. But the moment you step out of the door, the choice is yours. How you use that energy to fulfill the obligations that the theory was talking about. So it's not an easy thing. So you can therefore have this and match it on to what you asked about East Africa or whichever entity or institution. We have to keep trying, we have to keep challenging one another on the basis at least of this theory, and then tying it with practice and say, but we are saying these right things in this institution, but the practice seems to be coming out differently. So you have to agree that's how issues of accountability come in, because people they understand the theory but have failed on the practice, and they are causing damage to those they did. And therefore, that's when you say, if you are found to be doing this and you run into this and you're causing suffering, then measures should be taken. By doing it intensively, I think you reduce on the damage that is caused by bad leadership. So, as you said, at a personal level, I also confess, I tell you, I have no apologies to make for. And then I tell my people, you know it very well. I have said, by the way, when you get tired of me, get rid of me. I'll walk away without any, I will not fight back. If people say, no, you're becoming too much, insisting, both, too much is not just in time. Too much can also be how much you do in time that disturbs people, okay? But accountability and the desire to have results is not for the half-hearted, no. So by nature, I found either I'm doing it, unless somebody shows me saying, what? There's something wrong you are doing. I listen, by the way. I also have ears, I have a sense of trying to listen and learn, but if nobody comes up, and we all agree that what we are doing is the right way to go, on that one, I push everybody in my domain as much as I can. But age is catching up with me, so I have some reduced energy, not like I had 25 years ago. But I still have, I can still bite. I still have some, right.
Thank you, Mr. President. Vincent?
Morocco's Excellency, Vincent Gassana, Katie Press. Bear with me, sir, I'm going to go back to the DRC crisis, which continues to cause instability, insecurity, and of course, devastation for the people of Congo. It seems to me, sir, that the main factor perpetuating the crisis is what is a determination by certain Western governments to direct away from the attention away from the causes, underlying causes of the crisis, and instead just seeking to make Rwanda some kind of sacrificial lamb for every sin to do with the DRC. Now, I appreciate, sir, that the Rwanda does not have the power or the influence of these nations, but it is nonetheless a sovereign nation, a sovereign member of the United Nations, African Union, and other similar bodies. I wonder if there are any mechanisms within these bodies where Rwanda can table motions to hold these governments to account, not just to give Rwanda respite, but most importantly, really, for the sake of the people of Congo who suffer the most from what is a profoundly egregious cynicism, which this government seem to think works in their interest. Thank you very much. Sir.
Yeah, again, it's, I can say we are trying, and we'll keep trying. Maybe every day that comes to pass has brought something new, and looking forward to the next. But this is the state of affairs in the world we live in. There are these things that are never straightforward, and much as we may deny it and keep running away from it, It's that saying, having might tends to make people right or give them the right. So we have had this for a long time. They might tend to think they are right, and they don't care, even when they realize that what they are involved in is wrong. But as long as it benefits them one way or the other, they will take that direction. They don't care about you, and especially when it comes to we Africans who are even ready to accept it. It's like Africans, we are happily exploited. We tend to, be so subservient that somebody does wrong to you, and the tendency is for the Africans to be the ones to apologize. You get offended, you get hurt, then you are the one to apologize. And really can't keep blaming somebody else other than ourselves. Why do we? So, but we can't keep quiet. We always raise these issues. I'm sure there are many who are capable of doing that and who want to do that. We all can't be silent in this case. So while our power is limited, it's not like theirs. One, we have to reject it, that we can't just be treated the way we are. The second is we even have some way of fighting back. Fighting back includes to keep exposing the truth about all these lies and the suffering that is brought upon us, we Africans. Of course, that requires you have to have people who are like that, but then above all, you have to have a coordinated effort. That's why there is always a search for Africans. You are talking about, you are from Pan-African something. Yeah, the Pan-African means really working together, finding like minds and not accepting that we can, whether at individual level or at a collective level, we just have to. So there is always a moment, there is always a chance, there is always a place where even speaking up and speaking out makes a difference. That's what we have to do. And knowing that most of these crises, actually, when you look a bit underneath, there are things like this. We are talking about Congo a while ago. There's nothing between Rwanda and Congo and the conflict thereof. There's nothing that is just Congo and Rwanda. Underneath, there is a volcano, yes, that you have to contend with. There are these external factors and actors and forces that are operating. So the moment you are conscious of that and keep finding ways to minimize the damage it causes, I think the better.
Mr. President, we'll take one more question coming in from William Wallace of Financial Times. He's asking what is causing the delays to the Washington summit with DRC. If it does go ahead next month, how confident are you in a peace that sticks?
Yeah, that's almost like another question I answered earlier, but what is delaying, I can assure you, does not come from or related to Rwanda. I want to confirm that. It comes from somewhere else. I don't know, maybe the one who asked the question can keep trying to investigate, but nothing originates from Rwanda. But the question I answered earlier is, we have had so many meetings. Our delegations have met in Washington, and there is also, I keep bringing back Doha, there is Doha, but they discuss, they are near agreeing something, or sometimes they agree something, and then just out of that place, the next day, somebody is just it's in the open. It's not done quietly. Something, no, I want to do this until you have heard somebody say, we are not going to sign anything in Washington until Rwanda has removed the forces from DRC. That becomes, but these are things that have been discussed even before we went to Washington. There was a discussion about that, whether in Rwanda or so. But then you are in Washington, we agree that, yes, there are a number of things that are going to be done by both sides, and this is the sequence, and they sign. Our people, delegation, and the delegation from there, they sign. And then after that, the next day, whether still in Washington or back home, they say, no, we are not going to do this until, now they set different conditions other than what was actually done and agreed in Washington. So this is what delays the things. So for us, we've been here waiting. There were many times we are hoping that they are saying that maybe beginning of December, I'm not sure that we are going to meet in Washington. I'm not sure whether tomorrow somebody doesn't say, no. For me, I'm not going to Washington because either last night he dreamt or was told by a priest whether the backward, the old priests or the new ones, that it's a bad idea or it's a bad omen to do this. And somebody just says, I will not go. So what can I do? But we are still hopeful that maybe because those bringing us together maybe have some power to move things, but at least for sure they have the intention. So we will wait and keep hoping that it's not just about a trip to Washington, it's about making steps towards finding an agreement that can help us start a process that will bring peace to our region and to our countries.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll now take a 15-minute break and come back.
Maybe 15 minutes or even 10, and then we... But you forced me into a break. I welcome it, and I welcome it anyhow.
turi muri village Urugwiro ahari kubera ikiganiro nyakubahwa perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame agirana n'itangazamakuru. Ni ikiganiro muri iki gice cyacyo cya mbere cyagarutse ku bibazo bitandukanye. Hari ikibazo kijyanye n'umutekano muke mu karere u Rwanda ruherereyemo, ahakomojwe ku masezerano ya Washington. Gusa aha perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame akaba agaragaza ko uruhande rwa Kongo rukomeza kwirengagiza nkana ndetse no gushaka gushyira mu bikorwa ibikubiye muri aya masezerano. Hari kandi ibijyanye n'uko umukuru w'igihugu yaragaragaje uruhare rw'ibihugu byo mu burengerazuba bw'isi bwitwaza nkana kurengera uburenganzira bwa muntu, ariko kandi ari bo ntandaro y'ibyo bibazo. Muri iki gice cya mbere kandi cy'ikiganiro nyakubahwa perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame yagiranye n'itangazamakuru, hanagarutse ku ngingo yagutse y'umutekano w'umugabane wa Afurika, aho nyakubahwa perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame yavuze ko Afurika ikwiriye kwishakamo ibisubizo mu gukemura mu buryo bwayo ibibazo uyu mugabane ifite. Avuga yuko umugabane wa Afurika ntacyo udafite cyatuma udakemura ibibazo by'uyu mugabane. Ku kibazo kandi yabajijwe ku bijyanye n'imiyoborere ye, nyakubahwa perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame yagaragaje ko uruhare rw'umuyobozi rwakabaye rushingiye ku gufasha abaturage. Turakomeza n'igice cya kabiri, ni ikiganiro nyakubahwa perezida wa Repubulika agirana n'itangazamakuru.
Thank you for the break, Mr. President. We'll proceed right away with the remainder of the questions. Let's start with Lacroix.
Hello, Mr. President. Vivien Latour for the newspaper Lacroix in France. What are your thoughts on the very likely dismissal of charges against Agathe Abiyarimana in France, and the link or influence her family could still have with FDLR through Kinshasa? Thanks.
These are some of the things I was saying, how the history, the facts thereof, sometimes they keep playing out back and forth, and even leading to minimizing the identity and the effects and the real bad image of FDLR. And you see it playing out in different places and ways. Yeah, in the recent time, years, months, we are aware one of the sons of Abiyarimana, and some of the people who ran away from here, by the way, who live in Europe, United States, and have been active on this agenda of FDLR. And they've been recruited, they are financed, they've been forming different things under the tutelage of the president of DRC, personally, not even... we follow, we see the visits, the many visits they pay to DRC government in Kinshasa, and we follow their activities they are enabled to get involved in. There are even those who used to be the officials of government who ran away like 20 years ago, again because of association with FDLR or other activities to undermine the integrity and fail the government so that it doesn't move forward. So you can link these things. You see the FDLR being covered up by some authorities in Europe and elsewhere, then the family of
the Washington Peace Agreement. When will you consider that this group is dismantled? Thank you.
Well, everything I have said, even here, about FDLR and those who they are associated with, explains that. I don't know whether I just have to repeat myself. In fact, I even talked about how there has been talk about numbers as a way of making it. The easiest way to give you numbers, if you operate here, maybe you should find time, they give you access, you talk to these people who have been captured and brought here among the leadership of FDLR, so that you talk to them directly. They give you. But again, the issue of numbers. By the way, I have seen that, for example, let me give you, you know, in Congo, there are different forces. Let's say there are forces of Burundi, big numbers actually. Last time, since we talked about Goma, that even before, just before Goma fell, Burundi had in Congo over 10,000 troops on the ground. Then you know that there are Ugandan forces in the areas of Ituri, Beni, and so on and so forth. According to DRC, these are invited, so meaning they are there legally. But for the forces, for example, of Uganda, one of the reasons they are legally there or invited is to do with these groups of ADF. Would you be interested in finding out or understanding, or let us understand, in terms of numbers, how many are ADF? To make it such a significant problem that justifies the presence of, let's say, the amount of forces that, the number of forces that came from. Do you have an idea? So, because I suspect there may be a fraction of FDLR, but it is taken seriously by that label put on them, terrorists. You see, terrorists even when they are 5, they actually do harm, and people take that seriously. So if there are, why no one would take them seriously, knowing that their history, and worse still, knowing that they are associated with a government in DRC. And I mean, this is a public knowledge. Even the way you have heard of hate speech, you have heard of all kinds of things. If you want to know, you must be knowing. So still the issue becomes, how many would they be? How many? So it's like putting me to task. One, it is falsifying the issue of numbers. If we want to know about numbers, there are many. That's very fact. Then, but the essence of saying, how many are they? It's like to say, you are exaggerating. No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about what you said, that is said by so many, including authorities in Europe. I have been asked by some leaders of Europe, how many are they likely to be? When somebody asks me that question, immediately I know he's interested in covering up the problem. And therefore, I associate it with all this I see. I said earlier, when you are talking about FDR, say the resolutions, the statements made at the UN, they come saying, it is really like a whisper. It is just mentioned in the passing. It's not, but the reason is so that it's like Rwanda should not be taking action against them, which means from there, I can see they are saying they are not connected with the whole history or even their responsibility in what they did here. Well, by the way, they have also questioned even numbers of those who were killed in the genocide. It says, moderate this, and the others are just mentioned in the passing. It becomes an issue of moderate people who died. It's not about the mass of people who were killed in the genocide. This has been a subject of discussion and debate unnecessarily, in my view, for such a long time. So, again, the connection with between FDR and the Kinshasa government, my friend, I'm sure you know. And as a journalist, I'm sure you investigate. You should be knowing. I don't know whether I'm being tested to show how much I know, because I'm being asked by people who know. Then we can put it another day.
Next question to New Times.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. My name is James Munyanez. I'm from the New Times. Mr. President, you have previously said that Africa's instability is often the result of leaders failing their people, and that coups are symptoms of deeper governance problems rather than solutions. Mr. President, with the recent developments in Guinea-Bissau, and in other places before that, like Madagascar and other areas across Africa, what do these developments reveal about the state of governance?
What is that?
What do these developments, like the coups that we've been seeing, reveal about governance, the state of governance on the continent? And what should African institutions and particularly the leaders of Africa do differently. Because, Mr. President, there's a sense increasing among young people that maybe you have leaders that kind of protect a club of leaders across the continent, that kind of protect each other. So what should leaders of Africa and what should African institutions do differently, Mr. President? Thank you.
You know, first time when I heard about the coup in Guinea-Bissau, even now I'm not sure really what happened. But when I heard it first, I thought somebody was carrying a coup against himself. That was my first reaction. It didn't appear to me like there was a real coup taking place. Even now, I need some time to confirm. But let me assume it happened, or that in Madagascar happened. For sure it happened, because I think somebody's on the run and there's another one sitting there. To begin with, it means I'm vindicated in what I said that you referred to. And maybe we'll have more coups. And so be it. That is my approach to that question. If there are going to be more coups anywhere around the continent, so be it. Because I also believe true, where coups are taking place, there must be something wrong that has been happening, even all along. You can assume, you can read stories, you can see and appreciate and like something, but once there is a coup, maybe 90% plus, it means in that place there has been a problem people have been not talking about or covering up or something. Now, I don't know whether you want, again, my opinion, which I have. Because what is interesting, some of these coups are happening in a place where these, they are happening in places where these people who make judgment about us, the West, have been praising leaders. Okay? These coups only happen to tell this
Repubulika Paul Kagame agirana n'itangazamakuru. Inshuro nyinshi nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame agirana ibiganiro n'abanyamakuru, ahanini bikaba ari ibiganiro bigaruka ku ngingo zitandukanye zibanda ku buzima bw'igihugu, umutekano wo mu karere u Rwanda ruherereyemo, iterambere ry'umugabane ndetse no ku isi muri rusange. Ikiganiro kandi gishimangira imiyoborere y'u Rwanda ishyira umuturage ku isonga, aho nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame binyuze mu itangazamakuru aganiriza abaturage ku ngingo zitandukanye zirebana n'ubuzima bwabo, hatangwa kandi ibisubizo ku bibazo bitandukanye ndetse bikanahabwa umurongo. Ikiganiro kandi kiraba mu rurimi rw'Ikinyarwanda n'Icyongereza mu rwego rwo kugeza ubutumwa buhavugirwa no ku zindi kominote. Ikiganiro kandi kikaba cyitabirwa n'abanyamakuru baba bo mu Rwanda ndetse n'abo hanze y'u Rwanda. Tubabwire ko ikiganiro mu gikurikira ku mbuga zose no ku bitangazamakuru bitandukanye bya RBA turahababereye.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. We thank you for hosting this press conference. We'll welcome members of the local, regional, and international media. And with your permission, Mr. President, we will proceed directly to questions. We remind members of the press to please state your name and media organization before you ask your question, and please keep it to one question. KNC.
Thank you, Excellence. My name is Kakoza Mwiza Charles, commonly known as KNC. I work for TV and Radio 1. My question, DRC government rejected or refused to put into place the commitments, Washington commitments of June 27th. And recently we heard that you may meet with Congress President in the USA. If true, what should we expect regarding the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo peace and Rwanda in particular? Thank you, sir.
Well, I'm sure you are familiar with these stories where people may say one thing and do a different thing altogether. And sometimes it even becomes a pattern for some people to just not do what they have said they are committed to doing. And that is a characteristic of the situation you have with the DRC. The good thing is it's always in the open, it's in public. You don't have to explain much. If they were doing it quietly, people would get confused and start saying that maybe others are actually responsible for all that they are seeing. But the good thing, they come out and say it. They agree one thing in Washington or even in Doha, and that is made public. Then the next day or week, someone says, no, we are not going to do this and this until something else is done. And even when what they are referring to has also been under discussion. And whether in your mind you agreed or not, what has come out of you, if it's on record, you definitely have a problem explaining why you would agree one thing in the room, and then when you are out in speaking to the media or to whoever, you say a completely different thing, or even renege on what you actually said you're going to do. So that is one part of it. But somehow we've been limping through this all the way. Some things done, others not, others half. And now maybe possibly with the time taken and effort, we will find ourselves in Washington, which I should have started with. I think the fact that there is even a possibility of meeting in Washington and discussing or agreeing or signing anything is a good effort. For all the years before, we haven't had anything like that. We have had people come visit us, visit Rwanda and Congo, and rush to the UN and the Security Council and make decisions and make announcements and pass resolutions. That's why in the first years we spent a lot of time on that without really having anything tangible in place. I think this process of the two processes, one in Washington, another in Doha, but talking about Washington, it's a good step in the right direction. Whether we arrive at a decisive moment that gives us a clear possibility and optimism that we are near finding lasting peace and so on. Yeah, it's something we can still continue to hope for and work towards. But at least there is that possibility, there is that framework that is in place. And the Trump administration seems to have done their best. You know, some of these processes will not work, not just because we are meeting in Washington or the powerful United States is involved. Yes, they have a big role to play. It's what I was praising them for, having made a huge effort. But until those people concerned directly, they themselves want and commit to achieve the end result, which is stability, peace, and security for all that needed, even the most powerful will remain wondering which way to go, or frustrated, if you will. So the onus is on us, mainly the people, the leaders, DRC, Rwanda, and others in the region. You know, Washington took over this when there were also other efforts underway. I'm sure maybe one of you will be asking, or you yourself had it on mind but didn't raise it. You would be asking, what is the East African SADC process? Because they were there. Or the AU, or whatever. That speaks volumes. And the reality is the knot is tied in one place. These problems are happening in Congo, but it seems the leaders don't care or don't know, or they have refused to take responsibility. They just keep daydreaming and talking about all kinds of things, and whenever they've gone all places, the only thing they know how is to keep asking sanctions for Rwanda, sanctions for Rwanda. Okay, but if you sanction Rwanda, how does it solve your problem? How does it solve your mismanagement of your counter affairs? How does it give citizenship rights to the people who have been complaining for decades and have had to take arms and fight you? How does it solve the problem of you having to import mercenaries to come and ask and fight for you? How does it do that? I mean, you know, people should really see things for what they are, and you may hear so many stories about different things, but you also have the ability to see through all that and make your own judgment. So, summary of so much I have said, I'm always optimistic. Always hope there is a chance another day, and the following day. But I remain prepared to take care of the business I have to take care of.
Thank you, Mr. President. Albert?
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for this press conference. Kind of a follow-up on where we started. At the same time that we have a meeting coming up in Washington eventually, at the same time you have a narrative that has been developing in these last weeks and touching on something that doesn't seem to be the way it is presented, talking about humanitarian crisis that is incredible, millions of people displaced in Eastern Congo, that people need to have access to Goma, and that is especially developed in Europe, for what we can see. So sometimes also it reminds me of 10 years ago, or in 2012, 2013, what is this thing about Goma? Because as soon as M23 took in 2012 Goma, the whole world went cuckoo. And now again, everybody wants to have access to Goma. So what is there? Because it's at our doors. At the same time, I believe that after 25 years, to have MONUSCO there, which was also part of the forces that, beginning of this year, were shooting at Rwanda. I mean, for Rwanda, this becomes something that maybe needs to be taken up. Like, how long can a force like that still stay there? And especially that they've been part of the belligerent attacking Rwanda. Mm-hmm. So what is this thing about Goma that nobody knows?
Well, Goma is near a volcano, which sometimes erupts, and so maybe that seems to be the factual thing about Goma. The rest are just stories. But from what you started saying, what is it that didn't actually originate from Europe? You asked something about Europe, and you are saying the stories about Goma and so on are originating from Europe. But what is it that didn't originate from Europe about this story or about this problem? If you look at the whole history and the old history, but even the recent history, you have had Europe always in the mix of things in and between our countries, and even to do with the crisis we have in Eastern Congo or the region. For about Goma, I don't fully understand. And talking about humanitarian crisis, yes, there is suffering. There is no question about it. But actually, it seems there was more suffering before the crisis, or at the beginning of it. As of today, I think the suffering is still there, but maybe less than. But to talk about humanitarian crisis so much is to find an entry point, an easy entry point into that crisis, and then shaping it the way some people want, given how they have been relating to this history I'm talking about all along before. You cannot talk about just crisis or humanitarian crisis without highlighting the root cause of that. And people have always avoided bringing up matters to do with the root cause because in the end it exposes people like that. So there is always a way to shape things in a manner that there is effort to protect themselves, the people I'm talking about. And is it a new crisis in Eastern Congo or in Goma or around Goma? You remember this crisis, I have said this before, and you have heard it even from other people, or you know it yourself.